Mr. Warren, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, sir.
My name is Randolph Warren, and my DOC number is 78556.
Let me see. I don't believe I have the list. Don't have the list. When you want to introduce your guest, oh, I'm sorry, I have it. I got it. Joseph Lance, Drew Powell, your cousin, wife Cheryl Warren, and then we have by Zoom the Parole Project. So we're going to allow your wife, Cheryl Warren, and you pick the other. You have one more person that can speak who's there because we're going to hear the Parole Project as well. Okay. And I see some other folks on Zoom. I don't have that. Here we go. Okay. You have there with you Melvin Mason, your brother, Sharon Mason, your brother, Melvin Jones, a nephew, and a sister, Rebecca Jones. So you can have 3 speakers on your behalf, Mr. Warren. Who do you want to speak?
Okay, Mr. Joseph Lennox, my wife Cheryl, and Mr. Carrie Miles, if you don't mind.
All right, that's just perfect.
Okay.
So let me just read some identifying information into the record, and then we'll start the interview process with you.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Warren, you're classified as a first felony offender. You're currently serving a life sentence. You were sentenced in November 1974 for armed robbery and 2 counts of aggravated rape. You received a life sentence on the aggravated rape, both aggravated rape charges that were to be consecutive, and you received a 10-year sentence on the armed robbery. Under Act 544, your parole eligibility date was determined to be June 17, 2022. Is that information correct?
June parole date?
Yeah, June 2. It's passed.
Okay.
Right? Is all the rest of the information correct?
Okay, yes, it is.
All right. So, how long have you been in jail, Mr. Warren? Your case was assigned to me, so I'm going to take the lead on the interview. How long have you been in jail?
I've been incarcerated now for 49 years and 10 months and 4 days.
29 years, 10 months, almost 50.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a birthday coming up in August? You'll be 70? How old?
Yes, I will be.
Yeah.
70 years old.
Okay. And you only have 5 write-ups in almost 50 years. That's just remarkable. How did you manage to do that?
Oh, by keeping myself hopeful and positive, and just keeping hope alive in my life, that one day, I would get a chance to, to gain my freedom. So I didn't have anything, as far as a criminal past or anything like that. So only thing I had to do was just keep maturing in here and stay positive.
So you did complete the sex offender treatment?
Yes, I did. Okay.
What did you learn about yourself in that program?
Well, I learned that being through the program that it was very essential, to a person development, identifying where he fell short at, and entertaining and recognizing, then applying, yourself to make a change in your life. And I just thank God, that it was beneficial to a lot of people, as well as myself. And that was the first time that I learned about the word being sympathy, empathy. That means put yourself in the other person's shoes, and try to understand what they're going through. But it was very, very helpful.
I see you have lots of other programs that you've taken. I won't list them all, but what was, other than the sex offender treatment, what was the most important program to you that you took, and tell us why? Okay.
So many of them, have benefits from it that I could relate to, through life. But one of the most important ones was that I graduated from high school, and that I accumulated associate degree in computer technology. Okay, and upon graduation, my mother and father was proud, they was at the commencement exercise. And that was one of the most important because I learned to do something that I never thought I would. And I understand that computer technology was the wave of the future. So I just, thank God that I was able to attend those classes, and graduate with honors with a grade point average of 3.60.
Wow, good for you. I'm sure that made parents proud. Glad they were able to be there for you.
Yeah.
What is your job?
I presently now work at Tractor Repair.
Okay. Do have some excellent reviews by prison staff about your work. They really like your work. Are you able to use your computer skills?
Well, I was able to use them, the clerical skills, when I was working at 914 warehouse for 10 years until 2004. And since that time, after I changed job, I just had to stay abreast, by reading material concerning computer technology.
All right. I want to acknowledge your attorney has just joined us, Ms. Hogan, and you want to just give your name to the record, Ms. Hogan.
Good morning, Jane Hogan from the Parole Project here for Mr. Warren, and I'll make a brief statement at the end with the committee's approval.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about, Mr. Warren, why you're here. Why are you in jail?
Oh.
I mean, I have the record, I know what, but I want to hear your version as to why you think it happened. Why did this happen?
Okay. On the day that this happened, okay, I came home, okay, and I was looking for my brother Melvin, just to go hang out, and I went around the corner, and at Donald Kojo house, he was not there. So when I was leaving this house, I seen the individual that, we usually hang out with, and I asked him, have they seen my brother Melvin? Well, he just went on into his house and he didn't hear me. So I just proceeded on and went to, to my girlfriend's house. And then the very next day, I was arrested along with 5 other youths for these crimes.
So you're saying you didn't have what I see in the record?
Say that again?
You didn't do anything?
No, not a thing.
You see where there were 3 co-defendants and 3 juveniles.
Yeah.
It was a really terrible incident.
Yes. Okay.
Let me just say this. We're able to, one of the victims, there were 2 young girl victims in this case.
Yeah.
And one of the victims contacted our investigator, and she says, and I'm reading this because she asked that we do it. She says, I want the board and him to know that I have forgiven him. I hope he gets parole. I wish him well.
Mm.
That's unusual. We don't usually see that.
Amen.
What kind of community service work do you do in your prison community? Do you do any?
Yes, I do. For the since 1997, when I entered Camp F, I was participating in the recreation activities there. And as the years went on, I became a coordinator, and formulating holiday activities for the younger prisoners that were being housed at Camp F. And I did that for a long period of years, up until last year. And I thank God that I was able to see some of the changes that the young guys had to make through the years, and became positive individuals. So that was the blessing to me,
So you said up until last year, how come you don't do that anymore?
Because last year, coming off that COVID thing, things wasn't the same, we just had
Yeah, I can imagine.
Together. Okay.
Yep. All right, let me ask, Warden Ambo, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Warren?
No, ma'am. Everything he said, he's been truthful. He has taken a plethora of classes. His tag is low. He also completed sex offender treatment. So no, it's nothing else. He's a minimum security offender.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you. Mr. Roche.
Madam Chairman, I don't have any questions, but I'd like to enter some information to the record. I'm looking at your disciplinary report. You have 5 disciplinary reports. You're short of 2 months of being incarcerated 50 years.
Yeah.
And you've never been in segregated quarters. You have never been in the working cell block. You have never been in lockdown.
No.
It's
Amen.
amazing. Thank you, madam.
All right, we want to hear from the folks you've indicated you would like to speak on your behalf. Could we hear from Mr. Joseph Landis, please?
Good morning.
Morning.
I have known Mr. Warren for at least 17 years. Mr. Warren is a constructive influence in my rehabilitation. What he didn't tell you guys is that, his nickname is Blessed Man. He has blessed many lives. You asked about his community service. Mr. Warren taught a class dealing with effective leadership. And I would like to cite the 5 pillars of leadership that he taught me. 1, leader behaviors. 2, directive leadership. 3, supportive leadership. 4, participative leadership. And number 5, achievement-oriented leadership. I carry those values with me till this day as I transition from an incarcerated person to a law-abiding citizen. I communicate with Mr. Randolph on a weekly basis, and he has helped me so much as I've gone through college and as I've just adjusted through life. Mr. Randolph is not the man that he was 50 years ago, and I can assure you, I will be there for him to help facilitate an effective transition, and he is welcome into my home around my nieces and the youth of my family. I ask that this board take into consideration his plethora of rehabilitative efforts and base your decision upon that constructive rehabilitation. Thank you, and may God bless you, Mr. Randolph.
Thank you, Blessed Man.
Is your wife, Miss Cheryl Warren?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Good morning.
Everyone. Good morning to my wonderful husband. I come before you. I've known my husband since 2003. So yes, I met him since he's been an inmate at Angola. We begin with Bible study. He's truly a man of God. I've never met someone who has been incarcerated behind bars that has been a free person. He has not allowed his circumstances and his surroundings to dictate his life. One thing I can tell you about my husband is being a man of God. He is truly accepted where he's at and abided by the rules and guidelines of the prison. The infractions he received may have been in the first few years that he was there. But the man that he is today, the man that I know and love, our children love, our grandkids love, before you is a true man of God who I feel with his family support, with everything that we have to offer him, financial wise, transportation wise, stability, helping him to achieve his dream of having a business, he's going to succeed. And this would be one inmate that would make the Louisiana Board of Parole proud that they allowed him an opportunity to become an active member of society and to be the man that he's intended to be. With all my heart, I plead with you guys to grant this today. I love you, babe.
Love you.
All right. Appreciate your participation. All right. Can we hear from Mr. Myers, the Parole Project?
Yes, good morning. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We're here because of Act 544, where the legislature last year determined that essentially that the plea bargains, the plea agreements that these men who are called 10-6 lifers made should be at least considered through parole hearings. When Mr. Warren took his plea 49 years ago, he was expecting to serve 10 years and 6 months, and he served right at 50 years. But during those 50 years, facts notwithstanding one way or the other, you can see that he did not become a bitter man. He's only had 5 infractions. He's been a role model to other people, a blessing, as has been said, to so many people. He's done the programs that he needs to do. He has, again, regardless of the facts, he's done everything that could be asked of him to do. Parole Project plans on supporting Mr. Warren through his transition. Because he will have to register, he is going to go to his relative in Faraday first, and not directly to Parole Project. And that is essentially because the registration fees are prohibitive. And so there's no point in doing that twice. But we will make sure that he has his Medicaid. We will make sure he has his SSI and any other available resources that he needs. He's going to continue to work on his ICOTS so that he can go with his wife, and we're going to be providing every type of support that we can possibly provide for him. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Warren, is there anything you'd like to say before we turn it over to your attorney?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just thank God for this opportunity, and it's been long overdue. But God have his own timing in dealing with certain people in their lives. And I just wish that my mother and father were still alive, because, they toiled and sacrificed, with me all these years until the bitter end. And I just want to thank my family, loved ones, and relatives, and my beautiful wife for the support that they have given me through the years. And I just thank God for you all. Okay. Thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Hogan.
Thank you, Ms. Renata. Just to sum up what's already been said, I think that what Mr. Warren's wife said about him, despite his circumstances, not being defined by where he is and rising above and being someone who's truly a free man despite his circumstances, that's apparent to anybody who meets Mr. Warren. In our interaction over the last few months, he's always struck me as exactly as his wife described, joyful, grateful, even though his circumstances would maybe drive other people to the brink of insanity. He rose above it and he became a truly rehabilitated person who not only worked, for Tractor Supply for the last 15 years. Before that, he was working at the Plasma Center with the phlebotomist. Before that, he's always held trusted positions. He's always taken classes to his ability, and he sees all of the opportunities that he's had as a blessing. His hearing was originally set for December, and it was continued for another 4 months. And even after 50 years, another 4 months setback for him, he did not get discouraged. In fact, he completed new classes and sent me new certificates that he's received just in the last 4 months. So Mr. Warren will take that mentality that he has, that positive, his positive personality traits. He will bring that into any community that he is placed in the future, and he will make any community and any people that he encounters better because of who he is and because of what he brings with him. So we would ask this board to grant his parole with any conditions that are deemed appropriate.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Warren.
Yes.
Let me see, I can't hear you. I think we're gonna put him. There you are. Okay, Mr. Warren. First of all, I want to say I enjoy talking to you today. I enjoy listening to your family. When I read the record, I was a little concerned about what the outcome from today would be. But listening to you and listening, reading, what all the good things that the prison staff has to say about you, my vote today is to grant you parole. to the Faraday residence plan so that you can eventually do the out-of-state plan to reside with your wife. That's my vote. Mr. Rushing?
Mr. Wallace, I really, really enjoyed the interview. I think you're an exceptional individual. I agree with your wife. You're truly a man of God. I have sat in thousands and thousands and thousands of hearings. And I think what I heard today, everything that you said, I believe. Everything you said, I believe. So based on an excellent disciplinary conduct, an excellent transition plan, excellent programs, family support, and just an outstanding performance while incarcerated, it's my pleasure to grant your early release this morning.
Wise. Mr. Warren, likewise, I've been in this field a long time, and you are exceptional for someone to not commit the crime, believe, that you didn't commit it, and how you walk this out. It's going to be a testimony to many. I concur with my colleagues. My vote is to grant for the reasons already stated on the record. I wish you well.
Thank you.
Right.
Bless your name, Lord Jesus. Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, sir.
Bless you.
There you go.
Bless your name, Lord.
Thank you. Bless y'all. Thank you.
You know, it wouldn't be the first time that we've had someone charged with a similar kind of crime who has been innocent, and I'll put it here. It'll pop up at the end of this if you want to see it. The interesting thing about this case is that he didn't go to trial. He actually took the plea deal. Not a plea deal, I mean, he pled guilty. And Richard found this for me again. Thank you, Richard. If you're wondering who Richard is, he's a really cool guy. He's actually quite an amazing guy, but I don't want to share information about him without his permission first. But he's got quite a history, and he does this just as a to help share this information. He provides all of it to me, and it's really helpful because it saves me a lot of time of doing the research. And some of the stuff's not easy to find. It's not always just a Google search. But here's his appeal. And the appeal is that he wanted to have a trial. He basically wanted to go back on his plea. And he wanted a trial, which Randolph Warren had 3 indictments against him, 1 for armed robbery and 2 for this. And this is what they're talking about, right? This was all the same event. He pled guilty to the armed robbery charge and guilty without capital punishment. So that's why he pled guilty, so he couldn't get the capital punishment for these 2 charges. On November 3rd, 1974, he received 2 concurrent life sentences of life imprisonment and 10 consecutive years for the armed robbery. 10. And, then he wanted to withdraw his plea, and they basically said no for the different given reasons here. But that's the only thing that is interesting, which is who would plead guilty to a crime they didn't commit? This wasn't like a confession to detectives that he was coerced to give. This was an actual plea. Right? We always hear stories about people admitting to things they didn't do under confession, but I haven't heard so much. Would someone sign on the dotted lines, give me life imprisonment as long as you don't give me the capital punishment? If they truly didn't do it, it's just something I don't understand. Without looking at this, I totally believe him though. And the board believes him, everyone believes him. It's very, very, very rare for anyone for this long to hold on to their claim of innocence, because it doesn't help you. The board doesn't want to hear you say that you're innocent. The other case that we're going to link up here was it seemed much more clear that he was innocent. I'm sorry, guys. My 2.5-year-old just